Welcome to War Games. We will get you ready for your next sales opportunity. Are you looking to win the sales battle? You have joined the right team. Here on the War Games Group, we take the strategies and mindsets from the most successful salespeople and share it with you. With our help, you won't have to fail your way to the top. When it comes to crossing the minefield of sales, step in the footprints of those that crossed before you. Prepare yourself for boot camp and beyond. It's time for War Games to begin.
Shall we play a game?
Welcome, War Games Wednesday. War Gamers, hello, hello, hello. So I am excited today. Why? Because I'm excited every Wednesday whenever we get to have a guest on, because it means less work for me. Okay, when I have a guest on, I didn't have to prepare anything other than just the notes that I have on the individual that's going to be talking. So I'll throw up our other VIP, Brian, that has made it here. Subtle skills, facial analysis, Brian. So guys, what I want you guys to know, okay, we were joking earlier, Jason and I were talking before, but we had a lot of similarities in the fact that Jason Cutter shouldn't be in sales. Joe Ingram shouldn't be in sales based on the education that we got. But I think based on the fact that we came from a totally different industry helped us to actually excel in the sales world as it goes through. But a marine biology major? What? Yeah, see Brian's face too. He got that one. Yep. Right? In the tech space, in the government world, in contracts, things like that, right? Didn't get his first sales job till he was 27. Okay, I mean, just change it to the actual degree I got and the stuff. I'm like, you're right on point. I mean, I was an electrical engineer and I sat in aerospace for years. So it was like, you should not be in sales. But he probably got the same thing I did, which is, will you shut up, please? You guys talk way too much for somebody in that field. But today we're going to talk about authentic persuasion. And you've heard me countless times come out and say, you know what? Authenticity is lacking today, and it's lacking in a big way. And so I threw up on the bottom of the screen, jasoncutter.com, so you guys can do that. You're like, Joe, how did we know where to find him? We're going to find him. And look, you get to meet him too. So
look at that.
I'm going to flip us around here. So let's do this one. If I do this, and then I go, Jason, can you switch with me? And then you switch with me. There it is. Now he's up there. So I guys, it's a great thing to say. Jason is here. Amy Lee says hello. Engineers are the sales department, right? We're the ones
yep.
Up with everything. So Tammy said she loves it. It's her kind of conversation. Now, Tammy has not gone to StreamYard.com/Facebook. So she will look anonymous because that's how she rolls, right? She's a very secretive person. So, and now we've got Charles Coachman in the house. So I would like to say to you, Jason Cutter, explain to me what your version of authentic persuasion is as opposed to Brian's, because Brian has one and he's dying to tell you about it. Brian's like, don't throw this on me. Come on. Yeah.
I'll just make something up. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
I love it. Well, first off, thanks for having me here. It's I always love these kind of conversations. I love this kind of space. I also enjoy a show or a conversation like this set up by somebody who also wasn't necessarily destined for sales like myself. So I definitely appreciate that, Joe, about that background. A little bit about me kind of leading into the authentic persuasion piece is that I was a shy, awkward, bullied, late blooming only child. I'm still a late bloomer. I'm always behind the times on everything. But I was also raised by a banking finance mom and a engineer program director dad. They moved up in their organizations, but both very analytical. My mom hated salespeople with a passion. One of her first jobs was in the back office at a furniture store, and she used to hear and see what they would do to customers and say about customers. And she just decided that salespeople are just gross. And then she went into banking and saw all the stuff that they did and the customers that came in, they got ripped off or fraud. And so it was always a battle. I mean, one point I spent 9 hours at a dealership with my parents while they negotiated on a car deal at a Toyota dealership, such that I literally chose marine biology and tagging sharks as a better way to go in life. I mean, the punchline that I say a lot is, at one point I was like 19 years old, standing on a 21-foot boat. We were surrounded by 3 18-foot great white sharks. My job was to keep them from eating the dead sea lion chunk that was hanging off the boat. And that was still a smarter career choice than people in my mind, right?
Oh,
that was still a way better way to go.
Well, think about this. You used to tag sharks. Now you train them.
I keep them from doing sharky things is what I do. But, and really the with the keynote speeches that I do, I wrap around the marine biology because, mentioning sharks in sales, it's like, oh yeah, of course they're sharks. But here's the big thing. And this is what we all know. And this is, why I appreciate shows like this and why authentic persuasion is so important to me is there's a lot of people in sales, and then there's the ones that give it the bad name, right? Like the used car salespeople, the snake oil salespeople, boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pen, blah, blah, like all that gross stuff that makes people dislike sales and think that sales is a dirty word. But that's not fair. There's millions of people in sales all around the world trying to do the right thing, trying to be effective, trying to make money by helping people. And it just has a bad connotation. Same thing with sharks. There's over 400 species of sharks in the world. There's only a handful of them that actually do any harm, but then they all get a bad reputation. And that's not fair either.
Correct. I agree with you. And to me, again, my primary focus for sales for a number of years and where I built most of my reputation was in automotive. So I still tell people, and I go, okay, if you look at this, 5 Honda dealers in Southern California got together and came up with the marketing idea of helpful Honda guys. And they said, hey, you know what we need to do? Let's make it sound like our salespeople are so stupid that they couldn't take advantage of a person if they tried. And that was the marketing ploy. And it did so well, right? The very early commercials, they weren't helpful people. They were people that got taken advantage of. So they flipped the script. And they were like, oh my goodness, you could take advantage of our salespeople. That's how ignorant they are. And then Honda itself said, wow, let's go do this. So if you get on there, and I'm older, you can probably tell as I was told yesterday with Brian and I in another mastermind was Colonel Sanders going on. So my reply was not appropriate for the show, and then when I looked at it, I said, okay, you go out there and we used to say, if you advertised you wanted to be above the fold on the front page of the paper, because you'd look into the little magazine rack or the newspaper stand and you would want to read, somebody can get it without putting their coins in to get it. And so you were trying to do that. In today's world, it's, are you viewable above the scroll, not above the fold? And so looking at that, I'm always telling people you need to be at the top half of it. So if you actually went out and Google searched the word car salesman, it's about probably 40% positive now. Okay. If you put new car salesman, it's like 70% positive before you scroll up. And for some reason, Danny DeVito from the movie Matilda is still there. Right? But if you did search used car salesman, we get everyone you're talking about, right? The images are still there, and the who's abusive to customers and things like that. And let's be real, with today's digital gun to our head, which is Yelp and Google, you got to treat people right. So it doesn't take but 2 mistakes for it to totally tank your reputation. So you're right. The sharks aren't out there. There's very few sharks that are getting away with anything nowadays. And so you're talking about authentic persuasion. And we're talking, again, what is persuasion? Is that getting somebody to do something I want them to do?
So for me, when I choose those words, and since having wrote the book, people have different definitions. I've had some debates on people who dislike the word authenticity, people who don't like the word persuasion. They like influence and things like that. For me, the authenticity piece is pretty clear. Most of that is about yourself. When we talk about persuasion, the definition for manipulation is very simple. That one is very clear. Manipulation is doing something to something else, not for its own benefit, probably against its will, and it doesn't matter what is the outcome, right? We manipulate clay into a bowl, we manipulate wood into a table, people manipulate other people into things so that they can benefit. Persuasion's not quite as clear. It's just like you're doing something or persuading somebody to take an action that may or may not benefit them. When I wrote the book, I focused on positive persuasion, which is I want to persuade you to take an action that's going to benefit you. And then depending if I have a part in that, it's going to benefit me as well. But my goal is to leave you in a better place. My goal is to help you achieve something or get out of pain and something you want. And I want to persuade you because currently you're stuck.
So, hey, great. And I'm again, here, Jason already gave me permission, everyone, to interrupt and throw my 2 cents in. So just so you're aware. For all of you that are going, Joe, shut up. Let the guest talk. Yes. Not that I've ever done it that way.
Never.
But I do let the guest know, hey, go for it. It's yours. And then I interrupt and ask questions. Anyway, my show. I can get my answers out of Jason if I want.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, to me, when I throw it out there, influence is something that people can take or discard.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're saying I want to influence somebody to do something, influencing is just more of the unconscious, let's try and get them to acknowledge something to move forward. I agree with you. The manipulation part means it serves me, not them. Mm-hmm. But persuasion with the right intent means I'm going above and beyond the subtle skill. Oh my God, that's Brian. Yeah. Subtle skill of influencing, and I'm putting more passion behind it because I believe it's in your best interest. Because that's how I look at it and go, if I'm persuading somebody, it's because I care. If I'm influencing you, it's just me making my peace, right? And manipulation says I'm trying to get as much as I can from you. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big keys, and it really wraps around, the book that I wrote is called Selling with Authentic Persuasion. The subtitle is Transform from Order Taker to Quota Breaker or Deal Maker, whatever you want to use. Some people said, hey, you could have made that the title and you could flip-flop them. But the big key is what I see is a lot of people who are order takers in a sales role. And obviously that's going to be to their detriment financially, career-wise. It's just not going to work well. And the question always is like, how does that happen? How does someone become an order taker? And then what can they do? Is there another way? And I think it's a lot of what you and I talked about with our past, especially, which is I thought sales was wrong, sales was gross, and there was only one way to do it, which is boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street mode, right? And that's on one end of the spectrum. And then the other end is that, we're all customers before we're ever in sales, or we've heard stories of family members who have bought something, regretted it, made a mistake, feel really bad about it. And so we make up our mind, like you're either on this end of the spectrum or you want to do the opposite because you don't want to be a hypocrite. And then what happens is you end up like an order taker. You're kind of following Bob Burg's advice too far, which is, if everything is equal, people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so people say, hey, as long as you like me and as long as you know me really well and as long as you trust me, that should equal business and sales. But it doesn't. Like, that's only part of the formula because you're dealing with someone who's stuck. They're afraid, and you have one job, which is to help move them forward. And if you don't see that as your responsibility, you're going to be just an order taker.
Okay. Can we identify, because I'm going to tell you right now, and maybe you've seen this too, order takers never realize they are order takers. Right? They're like, I'm really good at, for example, at the client I'm at now, they got a guy who is an order taker. And it's just the running joke that if the person's like, I want no pressure, we're like, well, we're going to give this lead to so-and-so, and we're going to give it to him because he'll put in the next 3 months to build a relationship with you. And you're talking about an automobile purchase that you should make within 7 days.
Right.
But what is
Yeah,
what is the
I
definition?
think
Here's
most
the
order
three
takers.
things. Yeah.
I think most order takers don't realize it. I think some do because they know something's missing, or they've sat through enough meetings with their managers about their low closing percentage. And order taker, just so people know, is not, in my use of it, is not a derogatory term. It's not a scarlet letter, which is you're an order taker, you should be out of the industry, and like you're messing it up. It's usually because someone has a false sense of what selling actually is, right? Because sales is actually service when it's done right. They're undertrained and they're poorly managed, and they're left to their own devices, and they're going to default to the easy path, which is being an order taker. And instead, who I wrote the book for and the work that I do is to help people become sales professionals when they're using authentic persuasion and they're actually in charge and they're helping that person move forward instead of either passive or gross on the other end.
Fantastic. So everything he said he was not saying about order takers, that's what I'm calling you. All right. So I'm over here saying, shut up, you low closing, lazy, don't want to learn anymore. No, joking. I've had that conversation with several sales members before, but truly, again, I think one of the biggest attributes an order taker has is wanting to please the prospect, right? And their overall focus is, I want to be nice and I don't want to be that shark, and so I'm going to over nice you, and I don't want to pressure you, and I don't want to put it through. So how can one person is like the first step, you have to identify it before you go on?
The first step is always admitting you have a problem. It's the same thing I say for my client companies. They have to admit that they are not good at their sales operation, and then I can come in and help them. But yeah, I mean, obviously the first step is always admitting it. And really it's either they want to please the other person, or underlying there is just a total fear of rejection and or confrontation that they're trying to avoid, right? They don't want to do anything that feels like pressure or anything that feels salesy because, and here's the big key, is they don't like that as a customer. Most people go through life thinking everybody sees the world that in the same way they do. And they think that everybody thinks like they do, wants what they want. Like if you've ever talked to someone who's like, you need to watch this show, like this is the best show ever. It's like, you don't know that. You don't know me. How do you know I'm going to like that show just because you like it, right? That person's just assuming, oh, because I watched Game of Thrones, everyone should watch it. And so that person gets into sales.
I'm just gonna throw it
What's
out.
that?
Everybody dies in Game of Thrones.
Everybody dies at the end. That's what I say about every show or movie. Right. So what happens is people have experiences as a customer. They know how they like to buy. They get into sales and they sell like they like to buy. And then if they don't like confrontation or pressure, that's how they become like that salesperson you were mentioning.
That's beautiful. Well said. I still like yelling at people more, but that's just old school sales. But okay, so if I'm looking at it, so now I'm putting down and saying, if we like to sell the way we like to buy, okay. So I have a friend, it's Sherry Tree, who has the bank code, right? Yep. She has all that stuff. And again, I've used it, and we've talked a lot about how to get it into this industry, where she breaks out how somebody buys.
Yep.
So how do I identify in myself that I'm the person who doesn't like confrontation? Because if I don't like confrontation, I don't want to confront myself with that either. But how do I Brian's so used to this going, shut up, Joe. But
the key is set enough money aside for therapy or things like that. I think that's usually just I mean, it really comes down to self-awareness. That's one of the big things. It's where when I wrote the book, a lot of people, even as I was going through the process, they're like, but tell me, how do I close more deals? Like, what do I say? What's the best way to ask for the sale? And they want all these tactical things. And I'm like, none of that matters until you know who you are. I could literally tell you how to do a process or what to say to close more sales. And if you don't have the confidence, or you're afraid to use it, or you don't believe in it, it's useless, right? If you don't, have some sales success traits that I outlined in the book, it's not going to matter anyway. And so really it's self-reflection, it's self-awareness, it's understanding who you are. If you got to take a DISC test, which is usually pretty simple to figure out where you're at, but it's understanding and being aware that, okay, I have this fear of confrontation. I'm not asking for the sale. When my boss says, call that person back and ask for the sale or move them forward, I just don't want to do it. Where is that coming from? And then a self-assessment of, okay, should I even be in sales? Because there is a certain amount of confrontation that's required. And maybe it's not. I mean, I've had many people who are like, no, I'm going to go do something else, be in customer service or back office. And it's fundamentally not for everybody. And so I think that's the biggest key, is understanding who are you. And then from there, where I help a lot of people make that shift is understanding that their job is sales, and sales is service. Sales is not something I'm doing to you. Again, this is going back to the gross model of what most people don't enjoy, is that sales isn't about doing something to you. That's manipulation, right? Sales is something I'm doing for you and with you for your benefit. And a lot of people make a mindset shift when they realize, wait a second, so my job isn't to push people into it or trick them or manipulate them or trap them in a corner. No, your job is to help them. You figure out how you help them, and then you provide that solution, and then you move them forward. One of the other biggest things where I see most salespeople, literally most salespeople, fall short is most salespeople are, I'm just going to say it, we're humans, and most are self-centered humans, like all of us are. Most people think that you yourself is the center of the universe, right? Like most people, I'll say for myself, because I am also human, is we all think that we are the center. We are the hero of the story. When we drive down the street, when we go to the grocery store, it's all about us. Like everything revolves around us. We're the hero of the story. We're not an extra. We're not a sidekick. We are the hero. The problem is that if we extend that out, because we're human, without getting into a ton of like the details and the experience and how far back this goes as a tribal society, the problem is that if I think I'm a hero and I'm dealing with a prospective customer, that prospective customer also thinks they are the hero and the center of the universe. Everything revolves around them. The problem is most salespeople sell from a place of being the hero, which is why you hear a lot of salespeople instantly in the conversation talking about how amazing they are, their company, their testimonials, their social proof, their facts, their figures, the features, the benefits. They're basically hyping themselves up because they think they're the hero there to save the day for that prospect, right? That's what happens. If you've ever gone to a trade show and walked up to a booth, that person's just going to monologue about themselves because they think they're the hero. The problem comes in the fact that, like I said, the prospect thinks they're the hero as well because they're human and they think everything revolves around them. But there can only be one hero in the story. If we look at something like Star Wars, there's only one hero in that story, and that hero is Luke Skywalker. Now, there's a couple of other people in that story. There's another guy who thinks he's the hero. And most people say, they say Han Solo. And if you're that character, you get relegated to sidekick, right? Now the prospect thinks you're a sidekick, not a hero, because there can only be one hero. The other person, the other guy in Star Wars who also thinks he's a hero and also thinks he's really right is who, Joe?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, right? So the problem is that in the mind of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader is evil. In Darth Vader's mind, he thinks Luke Skywalker is evil. The problem is the prospect is always right. It's their money. It's their business. You would like to earn that business and help them, which means if you're not careful, most salespeople end up being the Darth Vader in their prospect's mind because there can only be one hero. And where I see a lot of people, especially order takers, make a huge shift almost instantly once they start understanding this, is they don't have to be the hero. Their job is not to be the hero because there can only be one. Their job is to be the guide. They've got to be Obi-Wan or Yoda or Gandalf or Dumbledore. They've got to be the guide. And when you're the guide, your job is to just help that person get up the mountain, help them get what they want. And now you're walking with them and guiding them up to the promised land, to the finish line. And that's a totally different place. Now, again, sales feels like service. Now I'm helping you. I'm guiding you. I'm not tricking you. I'm not pushing you. I don't have to play these games. I know how to get to the top of the mountain. I'll get you there.
That's fantastic. Okay, so her official name in the group is Beautiful Pamela Aubrey. And so she has said she's so glad you're talking about using your own personality. And then the comment before was that she was thinking she has to be a high D to make sales. So she's gone through the DISC training, which she falls more into the SC personality trait. So when you look at that, how does one shift their mindset to say, I'm the guide, right? And I'm the person that's walking you through. And do you find that most people don't know structurally what the guide steps would be?
Answering it in reverse, I think most people do not understand it because, again, and I'm going to put this on organizations all day, every day, most organizations don't understand that principle. And they think, let's just do what we've always done, which is here's a script or a process. Now just go talk people into buying crap they may or may not need, right? Just go. And again, you then they say, well, just it's a numbers game, right? Doesn't matter. It's just a numbers game. And whenever I hear it's a numbers game as the first reason or the first sales strategy, it's somebody who literally is playing hero, not guide, and they're just going to knock on doors until their arm falls off in order to close deals. Now, at some point, it is a numbers game, right? Once you actually know what you're doing, it is a numbers game, and you can only control activities, not results. But it's not that. So companies don't help and give their employees, their sales teams, enough training about what their role is, and then enough tools. To make that shift, it's really about looking at what other professionals do. And when I do my trainings, when I do a lot of my speaking, I really look at, and I wrote about this in the book too, is what would a doctor do, right? How does a doctor go through their process? Now, is a doctor a salesperson? Some would say yes, some would say no, right? You could say, is a doctor a salesperson who earns more money based on their performance of effectively getting people to agree to their solution? Yes, absolutely, right? Now, what's different is that a doctor is going through their process that has been set up in a certain way where they ask questions, they find out what the pain is, what the source of the problem, whatever that looks like, right? And they go through all their tests and exams, they figure out what the diagnosis is, then they give a prescription, and then they assume the living crap out of it for the benefit of that person. They took an oath. That's the difference with sales. There's no oath. There's no governing body. There's no entrance exam. There's no moral code. There's nothing. Medical profession has all of that. They have a Hippocratic oath that says they will fundamentally not cause undue harm. So if you have a problem and they've diagnosed it and you walk out personally and professionally, they feel like a failure. They let you down and they let their profession down. Now, the difference is what they don't do.
You reached Pamela. She got it. She got
and that's
doctor.
It, right? And so
and
imagine
sales,
this.
We have a hypocrite oath. It's totally different than the doctor's oath.
I wish that was it. But the key is that, like, if we look at an example, right, and I love to use this. So imagine you break your arm. You go into the emergency room. They do their exam. They do the x-rays. The doctor comes back and says, you have this spiral fracture. We've got to re-break your arm. We're going to have to put it in a cast. We'll give you some pain meds. Here's a brochure on broken arms. Here's my business card. I'm going to send you a follow-up email. And if you want to do this by the end of the quarter, we're doing a discount. You can get 10% off. I'm sure you have to talk to some other people about it, but you just let me know. Like, do you have any questions? Is this something you would be interested in getting taken care of today? I mean, I understand you want me to follow up. Like, no. And that would be terrible, right? And people laugh whenever I say that because it's like, that would be so ridiculous. Instead, what do? Come back with a diagnosis. We got to re-break this. Got to put it in a cast. It's going to hurt. We'll give you some pain meds. We'll need to see you in a few weeks. Do you have any questions before we begin? Okay, hold on. We'll get you out of here as soon as we can, right? They know they are the professional. They know they're the guide, and they have a duty and obligation. Salespeople have to instill that in themselves because no one's handing them that duty and responsibility and oath. So you have to know, if I can help this person, if they walk out without me helping them, I have failed them. I've literally let them down.
So that's a belief in your product, right? I mean, that's what I heard you saying earlier is if you don't believe in the product you're selling, then you can never be authentic in what you're selling, number one. And then number two, you crushed my dreams, man. I love Joe Rogan's little video of be the hero of your own movie. And now you said that I'm not. So I'm just deeply disappointed and crushed.
Only when
You
you're
can't.
selling,
You
Brian.
still
Only
you
when
still
you're selling.
can. It's okay. You can be the hero of your
Good.
own story, but when you're in sales, you can't be the hero of their story.
That's amazing. And it's funny because what's playing before in the podcast version that goes out is my intro of Sales Genius Podcast, which says sales is only a numbers game until you become educated. Right. And it's like, once you become educated, I don't play numbers anymore. I play conversions.
Yep.
And I play, how do I increase conversions through that without trying to spend more money on leads? And that typically seems to be the answer for most companies that are out there. But no, this is fantastic. Okay. So if we had to sit back and say, Jason, right, I need to know what's the two things somebody needs to walk away from this meeting with. And it has to be, I need to say this to people. Otherwise, I did not do what I need to do, which is help somebody to sell something today.
So you mean from this interaction that we're having, or from their sales meeting with a person?
No, I'm saying from you, Jason, if you said you're dropping the nuggets, right? So you're increasing our IQ points while we're sitting here, right? And I know that there's people out there taking notes. Right, because I've got the little text message like, "Dude, this guy is amazing," and so I'll take those. And to me, it's like, yes, that's right, because I booked him. Yeah, I'll take credit.
You get all the credit, Joe.
Yeah. So looking at that, so again, because we just came up on a half an hour, and so we have roughly 10 minutes before I say normally to kill it. When you look at this, I just want to say, Jason says, guys, before I walk away as being the sales authority that I am, you need to take away these two things. Otherwise, you missed every point I'm trying to make. So
I'm going to throw 3 out there, but I'm going to make them quick just because I'm an only child and I'm selfish and greedy. So I'm just going to go for 3.
Yeah, well, you're the hero right now.
I am the hero right now. Believe it. Okay, so the first thing is to understand that your prospects in 2022 are no longer looking for knowledge and information. They all have within arm's reach all the knowledge and information of the world and the history of the world that we know it. Salespeople are still stuck in the fact that when they talk to someone, their job is to just throw tons of crap at people in order to convince them. That is not what people need. Going back to the hero and the guide mentality and dynamics, the biggest thing is to understand that people are looking for wisdom. They're not looking for knowledge. They don't need to know how that car works, why that car is special. They want to know, how is this car going to be the right car for me, or this insurance plan? They want wisdom. That is your job as the guide, is wisdom, not facts, not figures, not features and benefits. Like, all that stuff is important-ish, but definitely not in the beginning. What they want to know is wisdom. They want to know that you care. So that's the first one. That's a bonus one I'm throwing in.
Yes.
Now, the next point is, there's one thing that every single one of your prospects, no matter what you sell or how you sell, is afraid of, which I'm going to say is a pretty bold claim, because it could be any industry. It almost feels like a magic trick when I say it like this, like I'm going to do some magical thing and surprise you. There's one thing everyone is afraid of that is a prospect of yours, is they're afraid of change. Fundamentally, that's what they're all afraid of. Now, they might be afraid of change because it could lead to embarrassment, mistake. They don't want to lose money. They don't want to look bad to their friends and family. I don't have time to go into all the details of it, but fundamentally, if they haven't handed you money or signed on the contract or done whatever, they are afraid of change. And the reason I can say that is because if they weren't, they would have said, "Hey, Joe, my name is Jason. That's an interesting car you got there. How much is it? Great. I'd like to buy it right now. Here's my stack of money." Right? And we've all had those transactions as salespeople, which is the laydown, which is super easy because that person knows what they want and they have overcome their fear of change. Everyone else is afraid of change, and they need your help in getting outside of their comfort zone. They're stuck in their comfort zone, and you have to follow a very specific process to get everybody out of their comfort zone onto the other side which is your product or service. And to them, in this moment, buying your product or service feels dangerous. And in our primal amygdala part of our brain, from eons of surviving as nomads and in caves, change equals death. And it wants no part of that until it knows it's safe. Your job is one thing, is safety. Your job is to make them feel safe, which is an acronym I came up with, which is successful at fear elimination. That's your one job. Everything else is gobbledygook, sales, talking, and blah, blah, and process. And like, I have all that documented, but fundamentally you have one job. Until they feel safe, until you've been successful at fear elimination, you've got nothing. They will not buy from you until you've done that. So that's the other big part. And then the last thing I would say is that to go from order taker to sales professional, there's one thing you need to know about each person you're talking to and you want to move forward in the sales process. You must know why they want or need what you have that you're selling. Why do they, not why you think, not why the brochure says, not why your boss says, not why the trainer told you, why does that person want or need what you're selling? Because if you don't know that, you're an order taker, right? If Joe comes on the lot and says, I want that red car and I want this, and I don't ask why, I'm an order taker. I'm literally just processing a transaction and I'm at the whim of Joe and Joe's decision to buy or not. If I know that Joe wants that car because he has a family and he needs this for this, now I've got the why, and now sales is service. Now I'm a sales professional. Now I'm helping somebody get through that. And that why is so important when it comes back to the fear I mentioned, where people are stuck in their comfort zone and they're afraid of change. Only way to get them outside of that comfort zone is to tie it back to why they want it for their reasons. And when you do that, sales is easy. Sales, it isn't about closing tactics and asking for the sale. Now you're assumptive close like a doctor, because you know why, you know what they're afraid of, and you're their guide.
You're amazing. Charles Coachman, he felt safe by you, which is success at fear elimination, so he could comment. And he threw up a question. Okay. So in real estate sales in the Silicon Valley, we are seeing a lot of discount brokers hit the market, and they're cutting commissions 1.5% to 2.5%. How do you overcome that? Notice I threw it right at Jason and sat quiet. I'll just say that. Yeah.
So I'm hesitating because my thoughts about realtors. I think the key is the value being provided. Is there value being provided for that additional amount? And this is the challenge I have with a lot of realtors. At one point I had my real estate license. I was in the mortgage business at 27. That's when I started in sales, and then I got my real estate license. I see a lot of people who are in real estate who want big money, who don't literally provide much value other than showing some houses and semi-screwing up documents and processes and yelling at everyone else until the home is closed, right? Like I've seen it. I still see it. So if you want more, you have to be more valuable, and that's it, right? If somebody else can offer a discount and take away your business, then where was the value?
Agreed. And again, I'm the same thing. Now my family's in real estate, and so I have to explain that too, because so out here we ended up with like Redfin and something else out here in California, where they blasted us in Southern California and it came out. And what I found was they weren't any better than just somebody who could show a house. And so I have friends and family goes, well, it's really easy. I can just meet the hourly person at the house to go see if I like it. And so they just punch it in on the app, and then they sit back and wait. It wasn't that I don't know of a person who bought through the program, right? And there's different red ones, purple ones, green ones, whatever they came up with as their names or the umbrella for this. All of these different companies came out to say, look, we're going to save you all this money. But the fact was they just used free labor and then went back. So if you can remind everybody who you are and what you provide, then again, I would almost play the game of saying, again, if I was really confident in my ability, right? Like
go for it.
I would come back and tell them, you know what you should do? You should probably contact them, go find the house, and come back to me when you're ready for someone to help you to purchase it the right way.
And what I would say is a couple things, and I know that we're running up on time here, is if somebody else is going to choose that discount service, pay for the hourly model, just use an escrow agent, like all these things that I've seen, they weren't your customer. If you did persuade, convince, manipulate them into signing an agreement or being on board, they will second guess it, they will doubt it, they will beat you up, they will be a nightmare customer. And that's where I have a chapter in the book about abundance and doing the numbers and like, do you need every single person? And I promise you, you don't. So that's the first thing. And then it comes to that value. Also, you've got to let people try it. I found that out back in the real estate and the foreclosure days. People say, well, this other person's offering me all this money. I'm like, it's not possible. Your house isn't worth it. No, they said, okay, go try that. And if that doesn't work, call me back. But again, I know you're not going to be happy if you thought you should have married this other person, but you married me. Like, I want you to try before we go down this path, because I want you to know there's no other option. And sorry, Charles, I don't know you well enough to give the both barrels of how I feel. But again, it's not that I'm against all realtors. It's that there's a lot of people, especially we're talking 2004, 2005. They took a 60-hour course in Washington State. They have a license. They go to Starbucks six times a day, and they want to make six figures because they printed out their own business cards at home. And it's like,
with the perforated edges.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So I had posted a link earlier to your book out on Amazon. I don't know if it's better to buy it at your website or not, but Pamela,
if they buy it from my website, it's slightly cheaper, and I'll also sign it and I'll send it to you. So it's up to you. There's also an Audible version, so if you like listening to me, there's 5.5 hours of me as well.
Woo! Brian and I are road warriors. That may be a good thing.
Yeah, but we'd only listen to 3.5 of it, not because of you, but because we do 1.5 to twice the speed. So
that's what I do with podcasts is 1.5 speed trim silence, so it takes out the pauses in between speaking and while breathing. And then when I talk to people, I've talked to people who host the podcast. I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you sick?" And I realize that's normal for them, not chipmunk.
Right? They're speaking their normal way, and you're like, "Can you just take out all the breathing? You're annoying me." Okay,
Correct.
where are you doing this where you cut out the trim?
I use Google Podcast, even though it's pulling from all podcasts, but I use the Google Podcast app, and then I put it to 1 to 4, 1.5, and then there's a trim silence, and it literally just chops out so much.
I'm so downloading today because like my wife freaks out because every morning when I jump in the shower, I hit play on an audiobook or a podcast. Throw it up on the top so it echoes, and then I jump in. She's like, what are these people saying? It's not English. And I'm like, well, it's at 1.6. So
close.
It's there, I'm like, but it is English. It's just said a lot faster. And so
the Google Podcast app has that trim silence feature in it, which I love.
Yeah, me too. Trim silence.
No more awkward silences. Wow.
Right.
No more. Unless you get to real life, and then you're like, why is there so much breathing? What is going on?
Oh, geez, Pamela Aubrey. So
there you go. And I also have a whole bunch of podcasts too, my own and others. So
Amy Lee, I have to listen to Grant at 2.0 or I'll die. Yes.
That's hilarious.
So for me, listening to Grant kills me because grammar is not a strong suit, right? And he uses certain words. So if it's him doing it and he says it, I mean, I used to walk up and down the beach in the morning and I'd pop in a book and I'd like stumble. And I'm like, Grant, that's not the word to be using in an audio book. It doesn't fit in that scenario. Yeah. And his answer is, shut up. You bought the book. I win.
Yeah.
Yes. Amy Lee, what's that? What's a margage? Oh, well, you're probably listening to, that's Grant Cardone saying mortgage. Yes. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, she's back to Simon Grant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, wow, Jason, thank you so much. Again, guys, if you want to jump over to jasoncutter.com to get the book, because you all need to be selling with authentic persuasion. He threw out there, right? The understand your prospects don't need info because they got a phone, right?
Yep. They want wisdom,
not knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. What is wisdom? It's the proper application of the knowledge. So that's what you got to look at for them, right? They all fear change. You need to use his acronym of SAFE, which is success at fear elimination. That's spot on. And then why did they want your product? You need to be knowing what it is that's motivating them to make that purchase from you. And if you don't know that, you're probably not going to have a purchase motivation to look at. So,
and don't forget, if you want more, you got to be more valuable. That was his other one he dropped.
right.
That's it.
And despite what Jason had said earlier, I'm always the hero. Okay, that's just how it works. Okay, yeah. But you guys let the other people be heroes. Okay, I learned from my buddy Grant. It's all about me. Me. Yeah. So, but again, I think thank you for that, Jason, because especially you went Star Wars, which if I was in my office, you would know exactly. Going, wow, that resonated with Joe. Yes, and his 100 pop dolls. But looking at that, yeah, exactly. Are you allowing them? I always say you have to shift the focus from your ego and becoming who they need you to be to make a sale. Who are you going to represent yourself as so that they can feel confident with buying from you? And I think I like it. It's so much easier to say, let them be the hero of the story. Right. So there, I just shrunk my spiel down. So I like that. But so again, reach out to Jason Cutter, jasoncutter.com. Go see Jason, reach out to him. Pamela Aubrey, you should be reaching out to him right now because he's going to remember your name right now. And so to me, I think you provided immense value, and I appreciate you and your time and what came through. And I'll be jumping on getting the book as well, but it will be audio.
That's fair.
We have to take 2 trips, Brian and I. Brian, any questions from you?
No, I'm good. I loved all the content. So it's fantastic.
Great. So, Brian, what do you know about Jason by looking at him?
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, no, it's fine. It's easy enough.
No. This is Brian's thing, and it just blows me
Yeah.
away every time. He knows Joe's going to throw him on the spot. So,
yeah, give me a second, though. I got to find where did I put it.
See, he has it. So he does facial analysis. That's actually what he does.
Yeah.
He looks at you and he can tell how to approach you in sales and everything else. It's like one of the most valuable things I've ever learned. That's why I grabbed him and hold on to him. So I work with the mind. He works with the facial recognition. And then we get Janine Driver to tell us about body language.
Yeah, we need to get Janine back on here again soon.
No, we need to get her back in our little circle.
All right, give me 1 second because I was doing earlier while he was talking.
I know. I can tell when he breaks into his mode. So, all right, here we go. This is you. Let's make it bigger. Look at that. Okay.
Let's see if
you
I
gotta
can
make it bigger on your side.
I know that's what I was looking at. Where can I adjust to that?
Okay.
Where'd all the words go?
I don't know.
Let's
got
see.
bigger.
Where'd the words go?
I don't know. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It gets rid of all the words whenever it does it. All right, hold on.
The pink ones are forced focus lines.
Yep, that's 100%
Railroad
right.
tracks.
Yeah, let me do it this way.
Get out of his way.
No, you're good because you already know it.
But yeah, I can't be your friend and ignore what you say. It's like one of those friends.
I wish that was true with a lot more people. It gets rid of it.
Okay, just talk to him. So
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so the first one, forced focus lines. Basically, once you start into any project, basically somebody else has to walk up and like smack you in the back of the head to get your attention because you're so focused on what you're doing at the time. Low and straight eyebrows. You understand concepts very fast, and you just want the basic data. Don't give me a lot of fluff and BS. Here's what's interesting, though. You have the upward angled eyes. So you're always looking for the positive side of things, right? There's a lot of people who only see the downside and potential like problems. You like caring about the positives and where everything's going to go. Flatter upper lip. Don't like talking about yourself until you get comfortable with other people. Strong jawline. So once you make up your mind, you're stubborn as hell to try and get you to change your mind. You have to prove why you're wrong.
For those of you who can't see his reaction, he's over here nodding and laughing at himself.
Yes,
Right now.
And then large square jaw, which is down here, which basically means we don't have to use the sandwich technique with you at all. We can tell you anything like good, bad, all the above. So yeah.
In fact, the sandwich technique feels really fake and phony because I know that's what you're doing with it.
Exactly.
Just give it to me. Stop.
Yep.
And it goes back to that fluff. I can't stand fluff, and I understand things really quick. I don't need to explain to me twice. Like when someone just keeps saying this, like, please stop.
Yeah.
And
Give me the
it's true.
facts and
I
shut up.
do with the positive. I've been through a lot in my life. We didn't even talk about some other journeys in my life and things that I've done. So I'm always about the positive about it. And it's super stubborn. I am an only child and a Scorpio. So put that together. And that's what most people need to know about me. Because
I'll email it to you on Instagram. So and I'll explain it more.
So yeah, but you need to stay connected to Brian just because he's amazing. And he's gonna put that picture in there and you're gonna be like, dang. Now Jason's gonna look at it and go, well, now I identified this, and he'll know what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. He doesn't need you to teach him nothing. So
I already got it.
Yep.
Right, I got it. Look,
I'm
have
good.
you seen my
Just
eyebrows?
plug in like the Matrix. I got it. Now I'm good. Let's go.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Jason, again, thank you for dropping
Thank you, guys.
the nuggets and getting the IQ points raised in sales. So take care, everybody. Be good. And go out and sell something.